Your reasons for listening to the show, well, those are your own. But just keep in mind that the views, information, or opinions expressed on the Tuddle Daily Podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of our sponsors. Yeah, it's called free speech, people. Nobody's forcing you to listen.
Get ready for your daily dose of Tuddle.
The all-time greatest intern/producer we've ever had, of course, Tuddle. Tuddle in Florida.
From the Hobo Fish Camp, it's the Tuddle Daily Podcast.
No wonder nobody likes you, Tuddle. Everything's a goddamn debate.
Chill out. Drink a 7-Up. Eat a moon pie. Quit murdering people.
Greetings and welcome to another edition of the Tuddle Daily Podcast. Hope you guys are enjoying your day so far. The war on the holidays has begun. And I feel very, very bad for the tragedy that happened up in, I think it was, well, it wasn't Wisconsin. Yeah, it was Wisconsin. I don't know exactly where it is, but I'll get into the news story here. But this crazy, now come to find out, is a wannabe rapper that had already ran over his baby mama, I guess trying to take her out. And I guess while he was on the run, thought it would be a great idea. You know what's going to, get the cops off my trail? Let me go run over about 40 or 50 people. Let me try to completely obliterate the dancing granny. Sorry, I get kind of choked up when I realize, like, how the hell can you go after the dancing grannies? But, it's been about this whole thing every year. It ends up happening. Everybody, it's become a little bit more and more aggressive as the years have gone on. But people that are all just like, oh, why is the Christmas stuff out? Why is the Halloween stuff out? Why is the Christmas tree stuff out during Halloween? Everybody is getting upset. There's this one bar that is refusing to play Mariah Carey's greatest hit, All I Want for Christmas Is You, until after, I think, December, or not until December 1st. So what I'm trying to say is, if you're not having this parade before, which is a Christmas parade, before Thanksgiving, none of this stuff could actually happen. I'm not saying that, oh, it's their fault because they did it early. No, I'm just saying, maybe this guy was one of those anti-people that were like, all right, I don't want any of my Christmas before Thanksgiving is over with. I just don't. Maybe he just had a bad Christmas last year. Maybe he just has a bad Christmas every single year, and he's getting sick and tired of Christmas starting before Thanksgiving is even done.
Still a lot of unanswered questions. Take a look behind me here. You can see authorities are still here on the scene. It was supposed to be a day filled with holiday cheer, filled with kids, even a group called the Dancing Grannies. But it ended with terror and death.
Maybe this rapper, this wannabe rapper guy, ended up having an affair with one of the dancing grannies, or the dancing granny left him for another guy, another rapper. Maybe one of these grannies are just into rappers, wannabe rappers. Who knows? I love how they're emphasizing the dancing grannies. They're selling it really, really hard on the dancing grannies.
There's like 7 injured that way. There's so many down there.
Overnight, a holiday horror in Wisconsin.
Maroon Ford Escapes with blue heading into the parade road.
Can I ask just a very serious question? They don't have, like, cops at the end of the street or the main street that this parade, I mean, wouldn't you think that they would have pretty much all the roadways blocked off? Maybe could have given some people some heads up, because I saw some of the videos. Holy crap. I mean, there are some people that are really, really fortunate not to get hit. There was a kid that was kind of like a couple of feet into the road, getting ready. I guess everything's already gone by a little bit. And the car just narrowly misses this little girl. And I'm just like, holy crap. But, I mean, I hate to say it, but you kind of do. You got to have your head on a swivel at all times. And I know that we shouldn't have to live that way, but It's just the times that we are living in. It's sad. Yes, it is sad. But always be aware.
According to officials, at least 5 people were killed and more than 40 others injured when a red SUV plowed into Waukesha, Wisconsin's Christmas parade.
I would like to know the make and model of that SUV because I got to tell you, and this is not me trying to shock jock, but I guarantee you, if you hit 50 people, even if some of them are kids or whatever it may be, that's a pretty sturdy, well-made car to be able to just keep going and going and going. Now, this scumbag definitely needs to be hung up. He needs to be killed. But guess what's going to end up happening? He's going to take the insanity plea, even though he's not smart enough to even come up with that on his own. But some lawyer is going to put that in his ear, like, you were crazy when this happened, right? Wank, 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 wank. You see the wank? You're crazy, right? Yes, that's what I thought.
A red SUV came barreling down the middle of the road, kind of swerving in and out. I would say maybe going 30 miles per hour. And I did see it hit people after the car kind of passed through.
The speeding vehicle seen on camera barreling past crowds and marchers before slamming into a high school band and other groups. The horrifying moment caught on camera from a neighbor's balcony.
Once again, the news censoring out everything. That's why this news should never be censored. And if I had a choice of watching a channel that was not going to censor the actual video of them hitting people and stuff, then you know what? I would watch that all day, every day. But I really don't have that option because every single news source is a bunch of pussies. Just give me the uncensored news, how it is, and if people curse, does not need to be bleeped out because guess what cursing shows? It shows emotion.
And witnesses say the driver didn't stop there.
My son was in the parade, marching with the Waukesha South High School band. I was helping pick up some of the instruments that were still laying in the street, and I picked up a crushed, bloody saxophone. It was pretty awful.
Crushed, bloody saxophone would be a hell of a name for like some hipster alt rock, like screamo type jazz band infusion. Crushed, bloody trumpet. Crush, bloody trumpet. Yes, I'm telling you, it just rolls off the tongue.
Panic also caught on camera in the aftermath. Lawn chairs and possessions left behind. People screaming for their loved ones. The SUV plunging into the crowd at 4:39 p.m., striking dozens of people. Firefighters marching in the parade, springing into action, with 12 departments assisting the injured.
When we had the Christmas parade in DeLand, the worst thing you had to worry about is Gus the drinking camel. I guess that was a part of the Shriners Club. Yeah, he would come around and he'd kiss you, but yeah, he would drink beer. And you would always see Gus. They would haul him around in this trailer. But yeah, you'd have to watch out for Gus taking a big dump in the middle of Woodland Boulevard, which is technically 1792.
Waukesha Public Schools will be closed tomorrow. Requesting that everyone continue to stay away from the scene. The roads will remain closed at least 24 hours.
According to police, an officer discharging their weapon in an attempt to stop the vehicle. No bystanders hit by that gunfire, but the hurtling truck narrowly missing families lined up to share in the holiday spirit.
Oh, man, I really did think they were about to make this whole story even more tragic, that this cop was just trying to stop this runaway SUV, which I still haven't been able to find out which brand and make or model it is. But this cop tried to, take this guy out with the gun. How bad would it have been if somebody would have taken a straight bullet from a cop? Holy crap.
It just struck me afterwards, in the aftermath of everything, just how...
Maybe a bad choice of words to say it struck me when obviously you did not get struck by this vehicle. I mean, hey, if we're going with the cancel culture, why is this kid not getting canceled? She said it struck me during a news story about a runaway driver. Okay.
You have so many people who are there just to spread joy and cheer and be positive, and it just changes everything in an instant.
Among the injured, a Catholic priest and multiple parishioners and Catholic school children.
Feel really, really bad about the Catholic school children, but, I mean, I don't know. Maybe those Catholic priests, probably had it coming to them. That's kind of like God smiting them, but don't believe in God. So maybe it was just karma. Oh, I don't believe in karma. Maybe it was just, a roll of the dice. The world's way of making things right by running over a couple of Catholic priests. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate from this one, but it's just my stance about the Catholic Church.
And Robin, police say a person of interest is in custody. At this point, it appears there is no nexus to terrorism, but so many people here waking up with sorrow and shock. Robin?
All right, before I get into my interview with Steve Leblang that's coming up, I wanted to talk about this one little piece of video that it's affected me a little bit. It's an art piece. I don't know exactly where it is, but just Google robot arm art. And the name of the artwork is I Can't Help Myself. And this robot, artificial intelligence, it learns. But long story short, this machine is constantly leaking hydraulic fluid, okay? Now, for this machine to keep going, it's going to need that hydraulic fluid. But the hydraulic fluid is leaking all over the floor, but the robot can squeegee the hydraulic fluid back into itself. But it's just a losing battle. It's just a losing battle. And I don't know why. Like, I'm not one of those people that get into art, but I felt bad for the robot. Like, the robot, it's I mean, kind of like looking into a mirror on our daily lives. No matter what we do, no matter how much, like, hydraulic fluid we push back into us, no matter what, eventually we're not going to be able to keep that up. Because now I think after 5 years, the robot's starting to slow down on the backstretch. And it's almost like the robot's dying because the robot is just, waging this futile war that no matter how fast and how much hydraulic fluid it keeps pushing back into it, it's just futile. It's not going to do yourself any good. And I don't know why. And I don't want anybody to think like, oh, this is Suicidal Tuddle coming back. No, it's not. It's just one of those first, like, pieces of art that I can say that's actually affected me. So just do yourself a favor. Just Google or go on YouTube, robot arm art, and it's labeled and titled I Can't Help Myself. Welcome back to the Tuddle Daily Podcast. I've been looking forward to this interview for a while because I'm always need to learn new things when it comes to the media culture. And I've been reading a lot about this guy, Steve Leblang. Steve, it's such a great name, Steve. Like, your parents did you a lot of good by giving you that great of a name.
Can't tell you how many times I've had people mispronounce it as Leblang or Leblang or what have you. Some people know me as the Banger, which ironically coined my ex-wife as the Bangy. And if you knew anything about the quality of our marriage, you know that was the most inappropriate name that she could have had.
Yeah, I know. Well, Steve, before we get into it, before we get into the interview, can you tell people a little bit about yourself, where they can check out any of your stuff, your website, whatever it may be? The floor is yours, Mr. Leblang.
Well, thank you, Mr. Fowler. So I am somebody who, for a little over 4 decades, has been a leading researcher and, frankly, cultural anthropologist on the whole concept of media and life. Mm-hmm. And when the pandemic started, I was relieved of my most recent corporate job and went through a series.
Was that with Sony?
That was with Sony, yes. I was in charge of first I was in charge of program research and then marketing analytics for Sony.
Spider-Man, can you give us any inside tips on the Spider-Man flick coming out? You know, I know that is a big Sony product.
Yeah, it is. I mean, here's one little thing. When Sony made the deal with Marvel before Disney effectively bought Fox to regain the X-Men, Sony made a deal for roughly 926 different characters that have or could exist in the Spider-Verse.
Oh, so you got like Morbius, you got all like, but yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Venom, exactly. So at the rate they're going, essentially Sony could go to the year 2500 and develop new extensions of the Spider-Verse franchise without repeating a single one.
Wow.
So what they're doing, go ahead. I'm sorry, Patrick.
No. I mean, see, that's the thing about it. You know, Spider-Man kind of started the whole superhero craze. I know they had Batman, but Spider-Man, the original one with Tobey Maguire, that was a Sony product. And then Marvel decided, as you're into the media business, how did Marvel let so many of their properties splinter the way that they did?
Marvel was a company that was ruled with an iron fist by Stan Lee. And Stan's idea was divide and conquer. So Stan set up with different studios, different franchises. So Fox had the X-Men.
Yeah.
I think Disney had Iron Man and Thor. And, at one time, and, you say, this all existed, it started with Tobey Maguire. Let me tell you that I remember, he said, dating himself, that in the 1960s, Marvel went out and did an animated series that was 5 different characters on a strip basis. And they aired the show not in the afternoons or in the mornings the way most kids shows were. In New York, it aired at 7:30 at night. From memory mistakes, it was Captain America Monday night, Incredible Hulk Tuesday nights, Iron Man Wednesday, Thor Thursday, and Submariner on Friday.
Okay, so they would save the weakest for Friday night, when nobody's watching TV. Now, before we get off way too basis, so what is your expertise though? Like looking at trends, looking at audiences, because I worked in radio for a really, really long time. And I know that TV and radio is different, but are you kind of like the type of person that sets up market research or like these test groups that everybody hears about?
Yes. And I would say that any media, because, a lot of the work that I did at Sony was streaming. In fact, a lot of folks don't realize that, for as much of the attention that's paid to, the likes of Netflix and, Prime and Apple and everyone else that's in the, streaming wars now, Sony as an independent studio is the largest supplier of content to more different platforms than any other studio. In fact, Sony makes more different kinds of shows for more different kinds of platforms than anyone else. So for somebody who's of my experience level, I have worked with more different media in the last 2 years than anyone else, frankly, in this industry.
Is that all due to social media, you think, though? Is social media ramped that up even more?
Because no, I think social media is a component of, but it is not a driver of this. Sony is one of the few independent studios left, and when they got rid of Crackle, they effectively became a creative company without a platform. And let me put that in perspective, okay? So a lot of people are probably familiar with the fact that The Office wound up going to Peacock away from Netflix, and Friends went to HBO Max. And, you had migrations of shows that had been on Netflix moving back to what we call the mothership. That's what we call a clawback. So, when these, monolith companies, the Disneys with Disney Plus, Viacom with Paramount Plus, NBCU with Peacock, they did what they call clawback. And they used shows that had for a long time been drivers to streaming subscriptions and brought them back in-house. Sony has never had that issue because Crackle was an afterthought. And when they got rid of Crackle, Sony is a free agent.
So they're like a hired gun. They're a hired gun then, basically,
Well, Sony made a output deal with Netflix for Seinfeld reruns, as well as a whole bunch of movies. And coincidentally, Sony is also doing a couple of original series for Netflix. And incidentally, Netflix is the only streamer that, while they have their own studio, they do not have yet a legacy studio. Amazon's in the process of trying to acquire MGM, for example.
Now, how can what you do for a living help somebody out like myself at being a content creator, doing podcasting and stuff? I have access to all the analytics in the world, male, female, age range, all that stuff. How can I get analytics to help myself?
Truth of the matter is that you already have them. I just don't know if a lot of people know how to get them. So, like you said, you know how many streams are being downloaded. You can probably find
location.
You got it, exactly. And there are third-party services. One is called a Talkwalker, which you could pay a fee or hire somebody who can pay the fee and analyze it, namely me, to give you insight as to where your audience is coming from and what content they resonate best with. And what that can tell you is, if there's an upcoming holiday, let's say, a state holiday, or some sort of concentration of audience, let's say in a particular city.
They got a festival going on. They got a festival or something, or a carnival.
A carnival could be like Jefferson Davis's birthday, or in New York City they used to have Brooklyn Queens Day. You can adjust your content to take advantage of a regional celebration, knowing that you're going to have more people potentially tune in, and you can focus your marketing, whatever, sort of, barter you want to do with, people and sites that cater to those areas.
So it can also help you with advertising too, as well.
Exactly. So, one of the things that I say on my site, here's your plug, www.leblangauge, that's LEBLANGUAGE.net or .com, is that we talk about the concept of personal optimization. And what I mean by that is, in a day and age where there's infinite choice of what you want to consume and when and how you want to consume it, you are, in fact, your own broadcaster. You, therefore, can be your own brand. You have the analytics, the quantitative information to make informed decisions, the way that a radio station or a television network or a television studio historically would. You need people like me to help you best do that.
Okay, but all right, though, how do you do that without it looking like you're pandering to a certain audience? Like, for example, what I do is I talk about my personal life, but I also give my opinions on some of the hottest news stories, current events, public media, just anything that's out there. And like what we have going on right now in Kenosha, Wisconsin, where Kyle Rittenhouse was just found not guilty.
I saw that.
So like, is there a fine balance of staying true and honest to who you are, or do you pander to the largest audience?
Depends upon what your goal is. Are you trying to sell advertising, or are you trying to be authentic?
Well, I think authentic is going to bring you a wider, diverse audience because, like in radio, yeah, you could be men 25, 54, be number one, but where we got our bonuses was when we were number one persons 25 to 54, both men and women. You see what I'm saying? I mean,
I'm well aware of that.
So what I'm trying to say is that, like, some people can go towards which way the wind blows, but some people can't pull it off without looking authentic.
My sense is always that, particularly in podcasting, authenticity is crucial, because I think that when you want what I would call an attentive experience, as opposed to a laid-back experience. So, one of the things that's been a phenomenon during the pandemic is that people have had the opportunity to be both laid back and active in their consumption of media. I think they choose podcasts because they want to be interactive, whether or not it's through texting or whether or not you leave comments. And I think authenticity is what drives people to comment. A lot of the controversy about Facebook has been the fact that they don't filter content based upon accuracy. They filter it based upon the ability to draw a reaction. It's the ability to draw a reaction.
Yeah. Now, in your opinion, though, if you could only pick 2 social media platforms that are current right now, or maybe something that's coming out that we all don't know about, what 2 would you pick to be able to promote the content that you're putting out?
It again depends upon the demographic. I would say Facebook, Meta, for all of its issues, is still the widest swath that's out there. And I believe it is still the most widely used on a global basis. My sense of Twitter is that microblogging has become passé.
Yeah.
And in fact, I will tell you that one of the learnings that I got in using TalkWalker is and TalkWalker was used primarily by studios to look at TV shows and cast members of how their social media footprints work. And what we always saw was that Facebook and Instagram were the major drivers. I think for younger and more ethnic audiences, TikTok is definitely a factor. I think that the social media platform that Trump is going to be introducing will provide a conservative voice. And I think you can't ignore that, particularly as we approach a crucial midterm year.
Yeah, and you're even gonna see the opposite. You're gonna see the opposite side want to jump in on that whole Trump social media platform just to mess around and screw with those type of people. That's going to end up happening.
Well, I think I listen to and watch a web series called The Young Turks.
Yeah.
And so they call it hate watching. And what's fascinating is I stumbled upon that, and now I probably consume about 3 hours a day of progressive information. At the same time, I got diverted to a podcast from a guy named Lance Wallnau, who's about as right-wing and as Christian and as polar opposite as the Young Turks could be. So in any given day, I'm listening to a lot of stuff from the Young Turks and Anna Kasparian and all those others. And I'm listening to Lance Wall now talk about, selling Mike Lindell's, slippers.
Yeah. So what you're trying to say is that the people that, that whole thing from Howard Stern's movie Private Parts, they were like, Howard's got ratings and these are the people that like him. And they were like, well, what about the people that hate him? And they were like, they listen to the people that hate Howard, listen to him twice as much as the people that love him.
Listen, I cut my eye teeth with Rupert Murdoch's media companies and with people that had been brought in from the newspaper business to launch television shows. First locally. And one of the first significant jobs I had was where I was in charge of programming for the stations that Fox owned in major cities. And we developed America's Most Wanted, we developed Cops, and we developed the original Current Affair, among others.
Wow, I remember Current Affair was huge. Huge, man.
Yep. In fact, you're talking to the person that convinced Mr. Murdoch to not put it on what at the time was the brand new Fox network. And instead, I worked for the distribution syndication division of Fox. So my argument was in New York, you had a mature enough television station where they had a big enough news footprint where you could advertise a show like Current Affair on news and get people. In other cities like Dallas and Boston, the stations were much less viewed. They had no news and they were islands, and you could see it in the ratings. So we were stuck with those things. But rather than rely upon the majority of the Fox affiliates, which had not yet begun to do news, we said to Mr. Murdoch, and we used quantitative research to prove it, you need to fish where the fish are. So we said, if you put this show on an ABC station and forget the fact that you want to build the Fox network, okay, build the Fox network with Married with Children, but but put it on. So one of the first stations we put it on. Where are you located?
I'm in Central Florida, in Orlando. I kind of have an idea what you're talking about. That like Regis and Kelly, and Regis used to be is an ABC product, but it was on NBC stations.
It was on WESH in your market.
Yep.
I actually had a little piece of WRBW when that went on the air.
Oh, no kidding.
Oh yeah. I had a little side gig after I left Fox with the original owners of Channel 65, and I was advising them on what to put on the air. And one of the first shows that station did really well with
was it Buffy? Oh
no, they were UPN, and you're absolutely right. That was a successful show. But what I was in charge of was buying all the shows that were not part of the network. That was what I did for Fox. So one of the shows that we put on the air in prime access, 7 o'clock, was Judge Judy. And
how much is she worth?
A lot more than you and I.
I mean, it's got to be like, I heard the syndication deals, all that stuff. Like, she's got to be a multi, like, hundreds, maybe. Is it anywhere close to $500 million, you think? 400 million, 500 million?
I've heard that the franchise itself, because they were shopping it around to various streaming services, 25 years of the show. I had heard that the show alone was worth about $500 million, that she personally was worth about 100 million, and now she's doing her show for IMDb TV.
Hey, what is the biggest syndication deal of all time? Is it Seinfeld? Or I think Frasier would be up there though too.
No. Frasier, I can tell you, was never as successful. Seinfeld, I believe with the most recent deal, and being in the inside of Sony, I have a pretty good idea. I think the most recent deal that they did with Netflix and Viacom, I think it's now about $4 billion an episode. So multiply that by 180. So that's no, did I say 4 billion? I did. No, I say 4 billion. I did say 4 billion.
Yeah, it's just a hell of a lot of money.
It's a lot of zeros, and Jerry's got a lot of it.
Yeah,
you know who else has a decent amount of it?
Who?
Steve Bannon.
Oh, he does. No, I did not know that.
Steve Bannon was an executive with Castle Rock.
Oh, dude,
Castle Rock made the original deal with Sony to distribute Seinfeld. That is so Castle Rock's now part of Warner, but Sony owns distribution rights. So you look at Spider-Man, you say well, Disney owns the IP, but Sony owns distribution. Same thing with Seinfeld. Seinfeld's technically a Warner Brothers series that Sony controls the distribution rights to.
I've heard Shaq owns the rights to some, like Shaq, I hear, is an amazing businessman. Owns the right to some certain bands or images or creative rights. I can't remember off the top of my head, but
I'm not even going to venture it. But you're right. But I do know people who are in business with Shaq, and yes, he's a very tall and a very smart gentleman.
Well, Mr. Leblang, can you tell everybody once again how they can check you out? I enjoyed this conversation, but if people want to check out your website and stuff, please tell people how they can do that.
They can do that, and I would greatly appreciate both comments as well as sharing. www.leblangwage, that's LEBLANGUAGE.net. And I would love to get feedback, and I would love to know, are people more or as interested in what I say about the media or what I say about my life? And the best thing I can tell you about my life is I've gone in the last 2 years from near death to abject poverty with a few friendships with porn stars along the way.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's a good mixture. I can only imagine some of the things that you've seen during your lifetime of working with broadcasting media companies.
I'd say it's right up there with what I've seen from the porn stars that I've gotten to consider friends.
Where did you ever see any of the Me Too stuff going on, or
I have to say no. I'll be happy to. I mean, I'll talk about what I know publicly, what's out there publicly. Look, I was an executive, during the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, and the early part of the 2010s, and I would say that there isn't anybody, myself included, that might have engaged in something that if the wrong person had been angry enough or desperate enough, you could have been Me Too. I would say it was.
But it was a different time, though, too. And I'm not trying to make excuses.
No. But I'll give you an example. Okay, I will tell you point blank, and I'm not going to mention names, but there was.
Yeah, I don't need names.
No. There was. I worked for a division of Fox, and I was in my.
You know what happened there? Not really.
Well, if you're talking about what was in Bombshell, I saw that.
Bombshell.
I saw that firsthand. Though, but I'm talking about a different time and a different division. So everybody knows about Gretchen Carlson and Megyn Kelly and Roger Ailes, and we used to call Roger Ailes Jabba the Hutt. But I'm talking about a guy who was not much older than me, who was my boss, a young, good-looking guy. And there was a gal who was the head of promotion for us, and she was an absolute drop-dead gorgeous gal. And pure and simple, she slept her way into her job. And she did not care who among us knew.
So she wore it as a badge of honor then. Like, I had to do what I had to do to make it to where I wanted to be.
That is exactly right. And I will tell you that, a couple of years later, she was working for a competitor. I caught up with her, and, she regretted it. She basically said, I was young, I was stupid.
My God, it was Rachel Maddow, wasn't? No, I'm joking. No.
I think I almost threw up in my water. No, it was not. It was not Rachel Maddow.
I
no,
know that was a joke.
Oh boy. Okay. I'm going to recover now. But no. I guess what I'm saying is this. I think it took two to tango, and I think what's being lost in all of these Me Too outings, and frankly, what's going on with people dredging up tweets from decades ago, is context and time. And I think that you need to be more forgiving of what people did before, as long as they're not doing it now.
Yeah. What about drugs? Were drugs a big thing back then too?
Drugs still are a big thing, I think.
Well, I know that, but so the sex and stuff, it was almost like you guys were a rock band almost as a network. It was like sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Let me put it this way: the way Current Affair got sold frequently was people would go to different cities, and I went on sales calls with a lot of our salespeople, and we tended to have a male-driven group of salespeople.
Of course.
And a lot of the people who were in charge of acquiring programs for local stations happened to be young, good-looking women. And I'll never forget.
Well, it's like in the pharmaceutical business. That's why you always see a bunch of hot women walking in and going to the head of the line to be able to talk to the doctors.
That is exactly right. So I remember that I used to travel in the Southeast with a guy who would always say, Banger, we're going to be doing a little sport fucking here.
Okay.
I got my wife, I got my kid, but somebody's got to pay for that, and a little sport fucking ain't going to hurt no one. So y'all keep your little New York Jewish mouth shut and just let me do the sport fucking and you do the talking.
All right. I gotta have you on again because I have so many questions and stuff, but I am limited to some time here. But once again, tell people how they can check out all your content, because I'm
going to measure it, because that's again what we do is we look at analytics. I'm waiting for analytics, and I'm waiting for a platform that can be even a fraction of yours. It's www. If you have a video of this, Patrick, I want you to put it up as a graphic. Thank you, sir. www.leblanguage, LEBLANGUAGE.net. And what I want you to do is go ahead, Patrick.
And the link will be included in the description. So
yes,
you'll be able to click on the link.
So what I want to know from people is, do you prefer my media musings, or do you prefer my life lessons? And most importantly, do you think that my ex-roommate should have not evicted me only because I liked her?
All right. You heard it here. I really appreciate it, Steve. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we got to do this again, okay?
I look forward to it, Patrick. Thank you, sir.
And that's the show for today. Thanks for listening to the Tuddle Daily Podcast. Hey, don't be a dickhead. Do us a favor. Like, share, and subscribe to the show. Also, check out the Tuddle category at 315live.com. The Tuddle Daily Podcast is brought to you by Starfire Transport, StitchYouUp.com, and PocketPairClub.com. Special thanks to show producer Vulture and co-host Sirach. Show voiceover services brought to you by JCVoiceover.com and The Little Cheese Show. Download and subscribe to The Little Cheese Show everywhere podcasts are found. If you want to help support the show, go to paypal.me/TuddleOnTheRadio. You have something you want to say? Tuddle@gmail.com or leave a voicemail at 407-270-3044. To follow all Tuddle social media, go to Tuddle.net. That's Tuddle with 2Ds.net. Thanks again for all your support, and we'll see you tomorrow on the Tuddle Daily Podcast.
I get ignorant in normal situations.
What? What you mean?
What the fuck you mean?
What are you talking about?
Nigga, what the fuck is you talking about?
Oh, shit!